the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure we go to tack.com, and you can see that I'm actually starting out on our Kenton City Schools, the big PD tack that we've been using for all our 2-hour delay sessions. So you can start out by going right up here to log in, which is the first step on our sheet, is going to log in. Okay, and I know I gave everybody a profile. I gave everyone this training profile, which you can log in and use, but I highly suggest that you create your own profile. Now that you've gotten more accustomed to using Tackk, it's in your benefit to create your own profile so you can get really creative with your instruction. And the best part about it is that you can sign up with Google Plus, which is basically just your Google account. So you won't have to create a new username, password, any of that information. You'll just use your Google account to log into Tackk, and it'll take care of everything from there. So that's what I suggest that you do. Once you do get signed up and get logged in, you're going to notice, so right now I'm just going to log into my usual account, my Envision Ed. Okay, so I'm going to log in, and you can see right here in the upper left my little icon that I set up. You're probably thinking, how do you do that, Mike? Well, you go into your settings, okay, and this is our settings menu. And after you log in and sign up, this is probably one of the first places you're going to want to hop to, because you're going to want to make sure you have a good photo so people can identify you when they're looking at your Tackk boards. You want to have a good name, so it could be the class that you're teaching, it could be your own name as a teacher. Try to avoid really broad names because it can get confusing as to what, like who exactly are we looking at right now. So you want to keep it very specific. And you can play around with these account settings. There's really nothing too important, but I always like to turn off the email notifications because every time someone views or responds to your Tackk, you'll get an email, and it can get a little annoying. So you just want to remove some of those notifications. But right here in the settings, we're on step number 4 right now to view our profile. So if we go to profile, actually it's in this drop down right here. So if I go to my little profile picture and I click on it, where it says, view profile, that's where I'm going to click on. And this is kind of like your little home dashboard. So you can see how many Tacks that you've built. You can see who's following you. You can see how many followers that you have. You can do that kind of slow, or actually this is who you're following, and then this is who's following you. But most importantly, you're going to want to look at your Tacks right here. So here's your name, here's your profile. You can do some edits and stuff like that you want to. But what's most important is right down here. This is where a lot of your workload is going to be happening. So we're inside the profile, and here are the settings right here. So if you can see right here, I've got my Tacks selected, and it's actually from here that I can actually delete. I can share from here, which is really nice because I don't have to go inside of the Tackk. I can edit. If I click the little pencil, that takes me into the edit mode, and if I don't feel like editing right now, I can just go back to my profile, remember, and then click on Tacks, and that's how I get to my Tackk boards. You can also see here, right here in this little wheel right here, this gearbox, you can actually duplicate a Tackk, and you can transfer the ownership and also delete it. So you can do a lot of work from your home dashboard. So as you create more and more Tacks, this page is going to fill up. And then you're going to have to, you can do some quick options right here so you don't have to go inside of each individual Tackk. But we're going to start a new one, so I'm going to click this green pencil right here. And, it does have these little templates, so you can do a blog or a school project, that kind of stuff. But I always like starting with a blank canvas. I just like doing that because I'm in control from start to finish. Sometimes the templates have stuff in there that you may not want to use, and then you end up having to delete. So it's just always nice to start with a blank canvas. So this is a new Tackk, and as you build it, it will save automatically, but you still have to hit publish at the end to make sure that anything happens to it. See this publish Tackk to activate sharing? It really doesn't do anything. It's just kind of a work in progress. So if I go here to my Tacks, you can see that Tackk isn't showing up because I haven't published it or done anything with it. So I'm going to go back into my blank canvas. Okay, and right now we're on step number 7 with the add media. So I can basically add whatever I want here. I can add a headline and just call this, test Tackk, something like that. You can see right below here I can add a photo, and so I can upload it. Just make sure that after you've uploaded your photo, If you browse to upload and choose it from your computer, you just click done, and that way it knows that that's when you want to add the photo. And same with the video URL. You always just want to click done to make sure that it knows that you're finished. But what's cool is that you can click on each one of these little modules to add interesting information. Like the button is really cool because you can put a link in there and title the button, and it's just more fun to put a button in there than just have a link in there that somebody clicks. So it just makes it more clickable and interesting for the user. But this is essentially what you're going to be using to create. And if you click on this little gearbox right here, you can choose to remove the module. So if I add a headline and it's actually a mistake, I didn't mean to do that, there is no backspace or undo. So you can see right here these arrows. I can move stuff above and below each other with the modules, or I can just use this gearbox and just delete it. And the gearbox also gives you options of how you want your headline to look. You can do the alignment, and you can also change the colors of the font. You're kind of limited in colors, actually. Like you can select these palettes, and it's kind of important to think about, because if you're giving the students a really daunting assignment, sometimes lavender is a really calming color. Or even like this kind of lavender, or even like these kind of teal colors, they evoke a sense of calm. So besides being all designy with your tack, you can also kind of affect how people are going to react to what you have in your content. Once you're in the font section, you can decide what kind of fonts that you want to use, and really it's just going to affect your headline and stuff like that. But this is just stuff that you can play around with to change the artistry of what your tack is going to look like. Same with the patterns, and I really don't spend too much time on this stuff because half the time no one's really even going to notice that you put that much work into it. The options, so now this is probably one of the most important parts of the tutorial right here, is what are we going to do with this thing once it's done. Okay, so I've got a test tack, and I'm actually going to add a photo. Just kind of pick something pretty generic. Something just to kind of serve as a placeholder. Sure, I'll just use this one, stock photograph. Okay, so I'm going to click done to make sure that's done. Okay, so I've got my headline, I've got one of my media pieces here. Maybe that's all I want to do for this tack or something. So I'm going to click on options, which is on test number 11, very important. So I'm going to click on my options, and right here you can see that I can assign this tack to be public or private. And if you assign it to be private, you can password protect it, okay? So when you share this tack with people, you can select a password, whatever you want that password to be. But when you share this with people, you just got to make sure you give them that password. Otherwise, they won't be able to view the tack. But it's good for making sure that your content stays private, whether for students or for parents or for teachers. It's all totally up to you. Most of the time, though, I'm going to be doing public. And here's where you can add your tags. All right, so when we did our 2-hour delay yesterday, I had you guys all post your information to a specific tack board. And the reason for that is because I want to come to one spot, this day 2 action plan. I just want to come to one spot and just see all the tacks that are tagged with this 2-day action plan, okay? So if I wanted to do that, I would go to my tack board right here, and here's where I would put in that tag, day 2 action plan. Okay, see this hashtag day 2 action plan? So I'm just going to go to my tack boards and just put in day 2 action plan. And you can see right here it's already popped up, and there's 13 tacks on there, so that's good. So that means that I'm in the right spot. I can give it a title, and so I'm just going to keep it as test, but you can make that title whatever you want. That's going to be kind of everybody's introduction to your tack board, seeing what the title is. Here's a cool little thing. You can upload a photo for the background. So if I wanted to select a photo to go into the background, you can do that too. So you can get kind of creative with how you want to present the information to people, and you can get real designy with it. But that could be more for your students, have them really explore some options and see what they can come up with. And you can see my photo is still uploading right here. And once it finishes uploading, there it is right there on the background. You can see that pattern stays the same, which is kind of cool. And I can choose to blur the photo, which will kind of keep it more of like a background-esque kind of look. But you can get really creative with the look of it and stuff like that. And then here's one of the more important things, and I believe this is step 12. All right, so we've got options continued. So we're getting down into this bottom area right here. And right here, see this Tackk URL? I can just call this test Tackk, or whatever you want it to be. See, the URL is unavailable, so someone might be already using that. So I'm just going to put KCS test and see if that's taken. So that looks good. So that means that when I publish this Tackk, it's going to have this URL, tackk.com/KCS test. And that way, when I send it to people, it's a little more easy to remember. Instead of just some random URL that was assigned to it, okay? So it's really handy. You can choose the comment stream, whether you want it turned on or turned off. If you don't want people posting any comments, you just turn that off and it'll leave them alone. If you turn it on though, you'll have the option of allowing people right here, anonymous posts. If you allow anonymous posts, people without a Tackboard account can leave a comment. So if parents don't want to sign up for Tackk, but they want to leave a comment on your Tackboard to talk about what you're doing with the kids, they can do that right here without an account. So a lot of the extra features people will have access to without even having an account to Tackk, which is really nice. Okay, so now we're going to go to number 13, which is publish and share. Okay, so this is the final step, as I like to call it. This whole thing saves as you go, but it isn't until you hit this publish right here. See this publish Tackk to activate sharing. It isn't until I publish that Tackk and press that button to publish it that now it exists. Okay, so now this Tackk exists. So if I go to my profile right now, so remember how we do that? We go here to the top left and drop down, view my profile. Okay, see right here, test. That's where your title pops up right here. So that way when people go to your Tackk, they can see, okay, this is his test. If I go to my Tacks, there it is right there again. And see right here, I have all my options. I can edit, share, duplicate, do whatever I need to do just from the dashboard, which is really handy. But when I go into it, you'll see right here, there's my unique URL, KCS test. So now when I send this to somebody via email, I can tell them, that's the URL that you need to go to see, see what I've just created. And I've also tagged it with this day 2 action plan. Okay, so if I refresh my page, there it is right there, because I tagged it with this day 2 action plan. All right, and because I tagged it, it's going to show up right here on the Tackk board, which is really incredible. So the idea of the Tackk board, which is number 14, as long as you encourage people, if you're there in the editing mode and you go into Tackk boards right here on the editing pane, so here's your little slider, to open it up and close it. If I go to options and here on my Tackk board, tags right here, I can choose whatever tags I want. So tagging is a great way to get some specific topics lined up so that all the Tackk boards you create with that topic, or all the tags that you create with that topic, will show up on that Tackk board, which is pretty cool. And you're probably thinking, well, Mike, how do I go from my profile to the actual Tackk board? Because if I go to this Tackk right here that I've just created, I don't see, I can see that it's tagged. I can see that it's tagged with the action plan, but how do I get to that Tackk board? Well, as you saw me just there, just click. Okay, so if I'm inside of my options and I go to that Tackk board and I see that action plan right there, I'm going to click on that and it's going to take me to the Tackk board. And most of the time, the tag that you select will just be the final line of this URL, which is tackk.com/board/day 2 action plan. And simply, you can just bookmark that, or that's the one that you share with people. So for example, if you're doing a project with your students, this is the link that you can send them, so that all they simply have to do is click this button right here, create a day 2 action plan tag. So they can click that, and then that brings them into the blank canvas and they can start creating with Tackk. All right, and you can see right here in the options that Tackk board is automatically added to the Tackk, so you don't even have to fuss with it after that. So it all depends on where you want to start and where you want to finish with your projects, or whatever information you want to get across. So as a quick review, make sure that when you sign in or log in to Tackk, that you're doing it with your Google account. That way you don't have to create a brand new account with an email or anything like that. You just use your standard Google account. Make sure you go into the settings and make sure that you're comfortable with all the information that you're going to be sharing. Make sure that when you go into the My Tacks in your profile, make sure that you know that you can use this as your launch pad to edit, to share, and to duplicate. and then simply click on it, and it opens up in this little mini window, and you just click edit again. That's what brings you back here. Okay, and then here's your tray where you're going to work on stuff. Okay, this is your slide out, slide in. This is where you get all your fun little tips and tricks. And when you add these modules, you're going to be hovering between the modules, and a little plus sign is going to appear. That means that you can add something there. So if I hit a plus sign, see, I can add a headline or any of my medias that we've already discussed in the tutorial. And then here's my test tack that I've created, and I've given it the tag of day 2 action plan, so that when I go to our big tack board that we've got going, you can see everybody's that's posted with that. Okay, so if you have any questions, just email me, and I can help you guys kind of understand what exactly the tack board can do, because you guys have Google Classroom. So really all you need to do is any tack that you create, that link could go into your assignment for Google Classroom. And that's a really fun way for you to connect content with your students, or you can set up a really cool project where the students create their own tack to go onto the big tack board. Now, this is really important. You can't privatize, as far as I know, you cannot privatize a tag. Okay, so this right here, this is going to remain public. Okay, so even if the students are posting stuff on here, it's going to be a public domain right here with the tag. Now, you can make individual tags private, like we said with the password protect, but at the end of the day, you can only really protect the individual tags. You can't protect this whole tack board right here. Okay, because it's a tag, and tags are universal. So that's just a couple quick pointers to be careful when you're working with tagging and working with students. But it's a lot of information, I know. So like I said, feel free to reach out to me and ask me any kinds of questions, and just kind of figure out what exactly you're trying to do with Tackk and what your intentions are.